Hi YouTube, this is JJ714 coming back at you. Okay, the things that I talked about, I'm continuing to talk about the things that I think were important to me, and I think if you're going on a cruise, it will be important to you as well. Is as I left off, I said you definitely need a passport. Now I know some people will tell you, well, you can actually use your birth certificate and, your driver's license or whatever. Things have changed. Yes, you can actually use your birth certificate and perhaps your driver's license to get out of the country. But when you get ready to come in the country, back into the country, you're going to find it very difficult to come back in without a passport. Again, it takes 4 to 6 weeks after you process your passport to receive it back. You will need an original or raised seal stamp birth certificate to get your passport. So if you have an old passport, an old birth certificate like I did, you might want to go ahead and go to your vital records in your state to go ahead and request a current up-to-date raised seal birth certificate to get your passport. For adults, the passports are $110 and then depending on where you process it, you can get it processed at the post office, or you can go to your local probate office. That's where I went in my county probate office. And the county probate office, they do have a fee, which is like $25 to process. So you will need either a check, money order, or cash. $25 for the probate office if you go there, and it will be $110 for Secretary of State, the U.S. Department of State for the passport. For minors, I believe the passport is $90 for them, and it is 10 years. You get a 10-year before your passport expires. The other important thing that we use as far as getting back and forth from the ship on land to back on is called a cruise card, and I'm just covering up my name, but it looks something like it really looks like a credit card. And what they do is when you go through, we went through the port of Miami. Before you get on the ship, they're going to take your documents, which one being your passport. As a matter of fact, the only thing we needed was our passport. And then what they will do is give you what they call this cruise card. And it has all your information on here. It doesn't have it on there now because they deactivated it. But they will take your picture, and it has all your information, your credit card information, because on the cruise that I was on, and I believe most cruises, you do not pay for cash. You have to have a credit card. When you process through the customs and you go in, before you actually enter the ship, you have to pull out a credit card, your passport. You go up to the counter, the representative will take your credit card, they will write your information down, they will take the vital information off your passport. Then they will give you your cruise card, which when you get to the ship, the captain and some of his representatives will meet you, and before you actually, or when you first enter onto the ship, they will take your picture, and then it will be on the card. And when you go in and out, when you purchase anything, anything from water to going shopping, whatever you do on the ship, you use this card. And then at the end of your cruise, like the day before, the morning of, We left on Thursday morning. So Thursday morning we got our final bill. You can either pay cash or you can let them put everything on your credit card that you use for this. And basically that was it. So yeah, when you go off, leave the ship for an excursion, you don't have to take your passport. All you really need is this document. However, never be late for the ship. If you're late for the ship, you need to make sure you have your passport with you. But the one good advice that I got from WWW Cruise Critics, as well as the people who were giving us information for our cruise, is they recommended that you make a couple copies of your passport, which normally is just your, the page that has your information on it, which is this page. I'm trying not to show too much information. And make a couple copies of that. Make a couple copies of your driver's license. If you want to make a couple copies of your birth certificate. But basically, when you go off the ship, don't take your passport. Take the copies, because really, this is what's going to get you back on the ship. But if you get left, in other words, you're late for the ship and you get left, those documents along with this document will make sure that someone will be able to help you, so you can either get back to the ship or get back home, whichever one is first. So when I went on and off to go to the beach or wherever we went shopping, this is what I carry. It has a strap on it, and I just wore it like this, but I made sure I knotted it, and I also held it very, very close to my body. When I went to the beach, there was either someone else with me, so we never left our stuff alone. But I always kept this with me because it was small enough that I could stuff it at the bottom of my bag, but it was big enough that I could carry some things that I need to carry, including money. So that was great. I'm trying to think. Oh, one of the biggest tips that I can tell you to do is contact your credit card company or your credit card companies before you leave for your cruise. Because if they do not know that you are traveling abroad and you try to use your credit card for a purchase, your credit card company may block your charges. And by you being on international waters, it will be very, very, very expensive for you to try to call your credit card company at that time. So please call your credit card company. Try to call them at least 2 weeks before you go, but call them, because if not, they will block you. And we had some people who were on our cruise that didn't call, and guess what? They couldn't use a credit card. So call your credit card company. The other thing, speaking of phones, unless it's somebody you have an emergency that you really need to call someone, I would say shut your phone off or put it on airplane mode. Or you can go through your phone company and get a data plan so that you can text, do text messages, upload pictures, Facebook and stuff like that. But if you make phone calls, on the ship, they were like $2.99 per minute. It was cheaper to call in Jamaica and the Caymans, which was like $1.99 per minute. I called my husband a couple times, really, really brief. So I haven't got the phone bill yet, but I'll let you know how much the phone bill was. So hopefully it's not a lot. However, I was told that there was a lady who was on our group with our group. Apparently her husband was ill, and she called back and she spoke 52 minutes, and it cost her $400 for that call. So I'm telling you, if you don't have to call anybody, I made sure I called everybody like the day before I was leaving, I called like my mother, my mother-in-law, and my husband and my daughter when I got to Miami while the ship was pulling off or just before it pulled off. But after that, I was not calling anybody. I was not taking any calls. So I either had my phone off or had it in airplane mode. So that was the bottom line. I'm trying to think of anything else. I can't really think of anything else right off the top, but again, www Cruise Critics is an excellent place to start. They have a lot of good resources, great information about a cruise. Start early. It would help if you have a color scheme as far as, outfits that you can interchange with each other. Make sure you take plenty of sunscreen and sunblock. Yes, I did get a tan. I know people think black people can't tan, but we do. We actually probably attract more sun than anybody else do because we already, what can I say? But my daughter and my husband was like, "Mommy, you got a tan. You look so good. You're glowing." So I basically want to say that I did. I enjoyed myself thoroughly. I'm sorry if I'm rambling, but I was just trying to make sure if there's anything important that I didn't remember to remember so that I can try to help somebody out. But the main thing is just have fun. Just have fun, and have fun, because I had fun. And I mean, it was just so very nice. Oh, one thing that I do have to share. The maitre d', he was really great. It was so funny because the ship that we were on, we had one of the young men that was working in the pool area. When he saw me, I was trying to find out where did I get beach towels. And he said, "Excuse me," he said, "are you with a group or something?" And I was like, "Yes. We're here with Pastor Taffy L. Dollar for the women's cruise." And he was like, "Is that Pastor Creflo A. Dollar's wife?" And I said, "Yes." And he was like, "Wow." He was like, "Wow." He said, "When y'all came on board, everybody was like going crazy because we ain't never had this many black women on this cruise before. We was like, Asha, wow, whatever." But I'm serious. It was really, really great. Everybody was enjoying themselves. Everybody got along. But it was quite obviously we were like sort of like a little bit of a commodity on this particular ship. But the maitre d', he came to our table. This was on Captain's Night. And so, no, I'm sorry, it's the first night. It was Saturday night. And so anyway, I said to him, I said, "I noticed you don't have chocolate cake on the menu, on the dessert menu, and I love chocolate cake." So he said, he called out, well, actually, before the maitre d' came up, the assistant assistant head chef, he came out, and then the bakery head chef came out. And so, they were getting on the phone when I was talking about this chocolate cake, and they were like, "Well, we're going to see about making this happen." So apparently they called the maitre d', and he came to the table. So he was like, "It's just such an honor to have you on board, and you just graced our ship, and anything that you want, that your heart's desire." So I said, "I really would love a piece of chocolate cake." And so he said, "Is there anything that you have asked for since you've been on this ship that you've been denied?" And I said, "Well, no, not really." And he said, "Well, you should have your chocolate cake." And so sure enough, on Captain's Night, they served regular dessert because we had it was like a 5-course or 4-course meal plus dessert, 5-course meal. So I thought, okay, well, I guess we don't get chocolate cake. All of a sudden, here comes the maitre d'. He has a plate thing full of chocolate cake, and all these other servers are following him with chocolate cake. So the maitre d' brought myself and my twin sister a piece of chocolate cake and put it in front of us. And he said, will you do me the honor of sampling it? So we tasted. It was so delicious. It melted in your mouth, and it was real, real chocolate. So he said, in your honor and for you, I will be putting this dessert on the menu in a couple of months, and it will officially go on the menu. So I was so happy because I got my chocolate cake. But the great thing was, it was that they enjoyed us so much that, like, the night before we were leaving, that Wednesday night, the maitre d' came to our table again, and he really, really thanked us for coming, and he gave us his schedule pretty much of when he was going to be back on the Millennium or where he was going to be. So he really wanted us to take some more cruises because he really, really enjoyed seeing us. And the good thing is, after you take your first cruise with a particular liner, like I know Celebrity will be one of the liners that I will be going on again, but I also want to go to try the Royal Caribbean, and there was one other one that's the one that goes to Alaska. You become a part of what they call the Captain's Club. So you get extra bonus credits to use and so forth. And the other thing, I don't gamble, but they actually have a casino on the ship. So they had a lot on the ship. So I just want to say, if you really have always thought about it or was interested, hey, start with maybe a 4-day, 3-night, or 4-day, 3-night, just to test the waters. So I think that's what my family and I, my husband and my daughter, will be taking to get them used to a ship. But right now, I'm ready for 7-day and then a 14-day by 2014, because I'm telling you, I loved it. So I just want to say thank you for taking the time to come by my channel. Thank you for all of my new subscribers. If you have any questions you want to ask me, I know it's my first time, but I had such a wonderful time, and I want you, when you go on your cruise or your vacation, to have the wonderful time as well. So with that, I'll talk to you later. Peace.